Now, in other news, French Prime Minister François Bayrou is testifying before a parliamentary committee. He's responding to questions following claims of sexual abuse at a Catholic school in southwestern France back in the 90s. This while he was the French education minister. He's expected to be questioned on what he knew about the alleged violence and sexual assault committed at the facility. While the 73-year-old has denied any knowledge, his wife taught at the institution and his very own daughter has accused the clergy there of abuse. We can now bring in our French politics editor, Marc Perelman. Marc, Bayrou finds himself in a tricky spot because he claims he didn't know what went on at the Notre Dame de Bétharram school, but as I mentioned, his wife taught there and his own daughter. It's been revealed she has accused the clergy of abuse herself.
Right. Clearly, as we speak, the Prime Minister is beginning this hearing, a much-awaited hearing about what he knew, when he knew, and what he did or didn't do about this. This is both, I would say, personal and political for him. It's personal because of the family ties. It's also regional, if I may say, because he comes from this southwestern region of France, which is why he sent some of his children to that school. He was, for a long, long time, a member of parliament, a regional elected official, and he obviously, as education minister in the late 1990s, when the first allegations surfaced, he apparently had interactions with a judge and a policeman who were looking into some of the allegations, not as widespread as we now know, but clearly he was involved, and he said, no, I was not really involved. I was informing myself like a regional official should say, like an education minister. And when this really erupted, I was already gone as education minister. He's probably going to defend this, reminding everyone about the chronology and so on. But this is really an important issue because, especially of the coming out, quote unquote, of his daughter, who had never spoken about the issue and said, yes, I was abused during a summer camp. And I also had discussions with my father at the time about his meeting with someone who was looking into the issue. François Bayrou said he has no souvenir of that discussion with his daughter. So obviously, under oath, he will be under scrutiny to make sure he didn't lie, that he exactly told the truth, and the truth has not always been the same, to say the least, in his succession of declarations since this scandal erupted several months ago.
Last night, we had the French president who was on television, was interviewed for multiple hours. He said he had confidence in his prime minister, but is François Bayrou's job at risk here?
Absolutely. I mean, someone who is about to kick you out will always say, I have full confidence, so you shouldn't trust politicians when they make such promises. But obviously, he is holding by a thread as prime minister, not only because of his own very, very deep unpopularity. I mean, the polls are abysmal for him, but also because of the equation at the National Assembly since the snap elections called by Emmanuel Macron. You have three blocks: leftist bloc, a centrist bloc, which he represents, and the far-right bloc. And the previous prime minister was kicked out when the left and the far-right allied themselves and voted a motion of no confidence. And this very threat is still there. He managed to pass the budget, but clearly the threat is still there. Marine Le Pen, the leader of the far-right, has already said she's not happy what he's doing on energy prices and other issues. She has not spoken out on this scandal. The National Rally has been quite discreet. They're waiting to see what he will say, what comes out. But if there is damning evidence that he lied, that he's even weaker than he is, they could decide to pull the trigger and vote a motion of no confidence. So this is important for François Bayrou's personal honor and ethics and so on, but also about his political future, because this could really tip the balance towards pushing him out, because the equation of the National Assembly is still the same. He has no majority. He doesn't have a lot of backing. There's a lot of unhappiness even within the Macron camp that is behind him, there seem to be second thoughts about the job he's doing. He's always wanted to be prime minister, but he has not delivered. He's not been very clear about what he wants to do, how he wants to do it. And so today's grilling is of utmost importance for François Bayrou.
Because Emmanuel Macron has just a couple of weeks until he can dissolve parliament once again. I believe it's June.
Exactly.
So
We're
1 year.
reaching that 1 year.
1 year
period
mark.
where he couldn't do it, but he could decide to pull the trigger again. He's already admitted that it was a mistake. So doing this when the polls are showing that he would perform even worse, his camp.
Exactly, and not much has changed since last
Would be
year.
a major
Probably
gamble.
worsened. Thank you very much for that, Marc Perelman there.